What's up fellow human beings, Brian here, and welcome to my channel about eye-catching art and eye-catching things. I did this mural last July, but today I finally get to share the process video with you. I first did up the design in Photoshop and it was okayed right away. Check out the rest of the painting process. Here we go, my first video of 2024. I was asked to create another mural piece for Mitchell Field Community Centre here in North York, Toronto, Ontario, when one of my supervisors saw the last mural I created for Roding Community Centre a couple of months prior. I started off by covering a 4 by 6 foot piece of plywood with primer. This will make the wood stronger and get the paints to adhere to the surface better. I ended up using a couple of bottles of primer for this, but I did have to wait for the first layer to dry up completely before adding more. I wanted to give the edges good coverage as this piece won't be getting a frame and the edges have splinters that needed to be sealed off. I used a projector to transfer the design, but before I did, I simplified it in solid patches and number coded it. Just to explain, this particular community center was used as a COVID vaccine clinic and a shelter for the past 3 years, and it's just reopened again as a community center. There was a reopening event and the idea came up to make the mural making process participatory by having some of the attendees paint on parts of the mural. So I numbered the patches and mixed the base colors into containers with corresponding numbers, basically turning it into one big painting by numbers for the participants. I actually couldn't make it to the event, so my supervisor had to oversee the base painting with the attendees, but here's how they did. Not bad, eh? To paint the details on top of the base patches, I use higher quality acrylic paints, mostly from Winsor & Newton, and New Master heavy body acrylic paints for the larger areas. And of course, I had to use my favorite mixing palette for large scale paintings, this crusty muffin baking tray. Enjoy the time lapse, and here we go. The concept for the mural is pretty simple. Portray the mixture of patrons that make use of the center and add a colorful and attention-grabbing piece to an otherwise bland and industrial space. But for me, I also wanted to celebrate the different backgrounds and ages of people that enjoy the community center. I decided on the flora to again represent diversity and growth. Pretty basic really, but the title is based on an idiom cut from the same cloth, as a reminder that although we may differ in many ways, we adhere and abide by universal principles of common good, mutual respect, equality, decency, sacredness of life, etc. By the way, I hope you all had a great time spending the holidays with your family and friends. And man, I'm refraining from greeting you all a Happy New Year right now because it ain't so happy for many people around the world, especially in Palestine, the Congo, Sudan, and the Middle East. I originally meant for this video to be just another artsy-fartsy painting process episode, but 2023 has shown us atrocious acts of genocide, slavery, and oppression on such scale and frequency unseen probably since the World Wars, at least for most people from the Northwestern Hemisphere. But what's unprecedented is that we are bearing witness to the greatest crimes against humanity of our times in real time, day in and day out for the last 3 months. And despite the millions of people protesting all over the world to end these atrocities, the relentless war machines of the powerful governments of Israel and its Western accomplices continue to attack civilians in Palestine, reducing their villages into rubble, and at the present have murdered more than 30,000 people. Almost 12,000 of them were children, leaving more than 58,000 injured and 2 million displaced since last October 7th. So how can I in good conscience not make a mention of it here? And in their brutal, inhumane campaign to cleanse Palestine of its people, Israel continuously dehumanized Palestinians by spreading misinformation and hateful lies with the aid of Western media outlets to try to cover up and justify their crimes. And to make it more aggravating, they shamelessly revise, distort, and erase history altogether by always retorting back to the events of October 7, as if the Palestinians have not suffered their attacks for the last 7 decades. Well, the world isn't falling for it, not when their motive of land grabbing and resource extraction have become so crystal clear to even the most apolitical onlooker. Not when human rights, freedom, and democracy have been blatantly trampled on and completely disregarded. And the leaders of so-called free societies in the West have heavily condoned Israeli apartheid while condemning Palestinian resistance. And we in Western societies can't sit idly by when our governments are directly complacent to the mass murder of children and civilians by sending military aid and producing and selling weapons worth billions of dollars to Israel. This normalization of militarism, occupation, racism, and genocide must be stopped at all costs, and we all have a stake and role to play in this cause for a just and long-lasting peace, if not during our lifetime, for the future generations. The Palestinians are losing their lives and their land, and the least we can do is to stand for humanity, for justice and peace in solidarity with Palestine wherever we may be. These past 3 months have shown more clearly than ever before that we are not all cut from the same cloth. There are the few who have immense power, wealth, resources, and privilege who grow ever more ravenous to advance their interest by killing off entire populations, subjugating them to the most cruel treatment, and taking their lands. This is what the US-Israeli war machine is doing. And their propaganda machines are working non-stop to influence regular people across the world that the bombing of babies and innocent civilians is justified in their massacre of so-called terrorist insurgents. But the majority of the world knows who the real terrorists are. We see the barefaced evil intent of Zionists for what they truly are. They are colonizers backed by the biggest warmonger and terrorist organization to have ever existed. Now don't make me say it, you know who they are. They have their web crawlers always crawling, and I don't want them to send their bot goons after me and shutting my channel down, because that's what they have been doing to many who take to social media to speak out against their atrocities. Zionists really suck, man, and they are recruiting sympathizers from all over the world, mostly from Europe, the United States, and South Africa to populate stolen Palestinian lands. Now, there's nothing anti-Semitic about speaking out against Zionism, and sincere Jews all over the world have made it clear that they stand against Zionism, saying not in their name. It's pretty clear, really. The Zionists are exactly like the Nazis. They think like them, and they behave like them. And here's a fun fact. In November 10th, 1976, the United Nations voted on a resolution that declared Zionism as a form of racial discrimination. 72 countries voted for this resolution, and yet they have been allowed to take power. The genocide continues, y'all, so I strongly feel a moral obligation and a duty to use my creativity and speak out against what is happening in Palestine on this platform. These hateful, war-hungry lunatics must be stopped, y'all. And gee whiz, we've come near to the end of the video and this mural is just about done here. But before I sign off, I want to thank you for watching today's video, and thanks to my growing number of viewers, you encourage me to continue making these videos and create artful content that speak of the times. Thank you for all your supportive comments and for the trolls and bots too. It really does help to reach a wider audience. Please share to folks who might also appreciate this type of content, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and don't forget to hit that notification bell for future uploads. Free Palestine, cease fire now, stop the genocide. Until next time, eye-catching out.